The flickering torchlight dances across weathered stone walls. Deep beneath the Great Pyramid of Giza, a young archaeologist's trembling hands reach toward an ornate golden chest. The silence is deafening. Every breath echoes in the ancient chamber. Then, as fingertips brush against cold metal, a low, otherworldly hum fills the air. The archaeologist stumbles backward, heart racing, because sometimes the legends are real. For thousands of years, humanity has crafted objects believed to hold powers beyond our understanding. Weapons that never missed their target. Stones that granted immortality. Mirrors that revealed the future itself. Tonight, we're diving into 7 ancient artifacts that continue to baffle historians, scientists, and skeptics alike. Objects so mysterious, so powerful, that their very existence challenges everything we think we know about the past. Are they mere superstition, revolutionary lost technology, or something far more extraordinary? Let's find out. Object number 1. The Ark of the Covenant. Picture this. The year is 586 BCE. Babylon's armies thunder toward Jerusalem's gates. Inside Solomon's temple, priests frantically prepare for the unthinkable. They must hide their most sacred possession before it falls into enemy hands. The Ark of the Covenant. This wasn't just any religious relic. According to ancient texts, this golden chest could level entire armies, cause plagues, strike down anyone who dared touch it without permission. The Bible describes it as the earthly throne of God himself. But here's where it gets interesting. The Ark wasn't just spiritually powerful. It was allegedly electromagnetic, constructed with specific metals and dimensions that some modern researchers believe could generate an electrical field strong enough to kill. In 1936, film director Steven Spielberg wasn't entirely making things up. The Ark contained the original stone tablets of the 10 Commandments. But its real power supposedly came from its construction. Gold-plated acacia wood, specific measurements handed down by divine instruction. And most intriguingly, 2 golden cherubim facing each other on the lid. Some electrical engineers today argue this design creates a perfect capacitor, capable of storing massive electrical charges. When the Babylonians finally breached Jerusalem's walls, they found Solomon's temple empty. The Ark had vanished without a trace, and it's never been seen again. But where did it go? Ethiopia claims to house it in the Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion. The Knights Templar supposedly smuggled it to Europe. Some believe it lies hidden beneath Temple Mount itself. What would happen if we found it today? Would it still hold its mysterious power? That question haunts archaeologists to this day. Object number 2, Excalibur, the Sword of Kings. The mist rolls across the lake at dawn. An arm emerges from the dark water, clothed in white silk. In its grasp, a blade that would forge a legend. Excalibur. King Arthur's legendary sword wasn't just sharp. It was supposedly unbreakable. It granted its wielder invincibility in battle. And its scabbard? Even more powerful. It prevented its bearer from losing a single drop of blood. But here's what most people don't know. The Arthurian legends might be based on real events, real people, and possibly a real sword. Medieval chroniclers describe several historical figures who could have inspired the Arthur myth. Post-Roman British leaders who fought against Saxon invasions in the 5th and 6th centuries. Warriors who needed every advantage they could get. What if Excalibur was actually advanced metallurgy? Damascus steel, perhaps, or even earlier techniques lost to time. Swords so superior to anything else on the battlefield that they seemed magical? Archaeological evidence suggests some ancient smiths knew secrets we've only recently rediscovered. Pattern-welded blades with carbon nanotubes. Steel so advanced it wouldn't look out of place in a modern laboratory. The original Excalibur legends described the sword as being forged in Avalon, an otherworldly realm beyond mortal reach. But what if Avalon wasn't a mystical island? What if it was simply a workshop where master craftsmen created weapons so perfect they seemed to come from another world? Today, several swords claim to be the real Excalibur. One sits in a stone in Tuscany, Italy. Another lies deep in a Welsh lake. A third rests in a museum in London. But the truth is, we may never know which, if any, is genuine. Because the real magic of Excalibur might not be in the blade itself. It might be in what it represents. The idea that somewhere out there, waiting for the right person at the right moment, lies the power to change everything. Are you ready to pull the sword from the stone? Object number 3, the Philosopher's Stone. The laboratory glows with supernatural light. Flames dance beneath glass vessels filled with bubbling, mysterious liquids. The air crackles with electricity. And there, on the workbench, sits a small, unassuming stone. The most sought-after object in human history. For over 1,000 years, alchemists across Europe, Asia, and the Middle East dedicated their entire lives to creating this legendary artifact. The Philosopher's Stone promised two things that drove men to madness pursuing them: the ability to turn base metals into gold, and the secret of eternal life. But here's the twist. Many of history's greatest minds believed it was real, and some claimed they'd actually created it. Nicolas Flamel, a 14th century Parisian scribe, supposedly discovered the formula. He and his wife lived unusually long lives and accumulated mysterious wealth. When authorities finally investigated his house after his death, they found his laboratory completely empty, as if someone had taken everything. John Dee, advisor to Queen Elizabeth I, spent decades trying to recreate Flamel's work. His encrypted notes, written in a code that wasn't cracked until the 20th century, describe experiments that sound remarkably like modern atomic theory. Transmutation of elements, particle manipulation, energy conversion. Were these men simply deluded by superstition? Or had they stumbled onto scientific principles centuries before mainstream science caught up? Consider this. We now know that transmutation is absolutely possible. Particle accelerators routinely convert one element into another. We've literally turned lead into gold in modern laboratories. The process just requires more energy than the gold is worth. But what if ancient alchemists had discovered a different approach? A catalyst that could trigger nuclear reactions at room temperature? It sounds impossible. But then again, so did powered flight, instant global communication, and splitting the atom. The Philosopher's Stone allegedly appeared as a red powder or small crystalline rock. Completely unremarkable to look at, but capable of transforming everything it touched. Modern physicists theorize about materials with exotic properties. Substances that could revolutionize energy production, medicine, even the fundamental nature of matter itself. What if the Philosopher's Stone wasn't mythology? What if it was advanced materials science, lost to the Dark Ages and remembered only as legend? The search continues today, not in medieval laboratories, but in quantum physics research facilities around the world. Because turning lead into gold was never really the point. The point was proving that transformation itself is possible. Object number 4, the crystal skulls of Mesoamerica. Deep in the jungles of Honduras, an expedition team hacks through thick vines and ancient ruins. The air is thick with humidity and the sounds of exotic birds. Then, cutting through the natural symphony, comes something else. A low, harmonic hum. They follow the sound to a hidden chamber. And there, sitting on a stone pedestal, gleaming in their flashlight beams, is a human skull carved from pure crystal. Perfect in every detail. Beautiful. Terrifying. And according to local legends, incredibly dangerous. The crystal skulls of Mesoamerica have puzzled researchers for over a century. 13 skulls, each carved from a single piece of quartz crystal. Each displaying a level of craftsmanship that should have been impossible with ancient tools. The Maya, Aztec, and other pre-Columbian civilizations left no records of creating them. No intermediate examples showing the development of the technique. They simply appeared, as if from nowhere. Modern analysis reveals something even more disturbing. The skulls show no tool marks whatsoever. No scratches, no grinding patterns, no evidence of any known carving method. It's as if they were somehow formed, rather than carved. But that's not the strangest part. When researchers subjected the skulls to electronic analysis, they discovered something unprecedented. The crystal lattice structure creates natural resonance chambers. Under certain conditions, the skulls can produce sound, store electrical charges, and even generate small electromagnetic fields. Indigenous legends claim the skulls are libraries, information storage devices created by an advanced civilization to preserve knowledge for future generations. They say that when all 13 skulls are brought together, they will reveal secrets that will transform humanity's understanding of reality itself. Sounds like science fiction, right? Except quartz crystal is exactly what we use in modern electronics for information storage and processing. Your computer, your phone, your digital watch, all rely on the unique properties of crystalline structures. What if these ancient craftsmen understood something about crystal technology that we're only beginning to rediscover? Several of the skulls have been dismissed as modern fakes by mainstream archaeology, but others remain unexplained. Their origin, their purpose, and their true age, all mysteries. And here's the unsettling part. People who spend time near the skulls report strange experiences. Vivid dreams, flashes of insight, sometimes detailed visions of ancient civilizations. Psychological suggestion? Electromagnetic effects on the human brain? Or something else entirely? The skulls remain silent, keeping their secrets. But maybe, just maybe, they're waiting for the right moment to speak. Object number 5. Mjolnir, Thor's hammer. Lightning splits the dark sky. Thunder shakes the mountains. And through the storm strides a figure of legend, red beard flowing, mighty hammer raised high. This is no mere weapon. This is Mjolnir, the hammer of Thor. According to Norse mythology, Mjolnir could level mountains, summon lightning, and return to its wielder's hand when thrown. But most famously, it could only be lifted by those deemed worthy. For 1,000 years, Vikings carried hammer amulets into battle, believing they channeled the power of their thunder god. But what if Mjolnir wasn't mythology? What if it was memory? Recent archaeological discoveries in Scandinavia have uncovered something remarkable. Ancient metalworking sites with evidence of techniques that shouldn't have existed in the Viking Age. Furnaces capable of reaching temperatures over 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Metal alloys with properties that match modern steel. And most intriguingly, evidence of electromagnetic experimentation. Some researchers now believe the Vikings may have discovered principles of electromagnetic induction centuries before Michael Faraday. Think about it. Lightning is pure electrical energy. If ancient smiths had learned to harness and channel that energy, they could have created weapons with genuinely extraordinary properties. Hammers that could deliver electrical shocks. Blades that could cut through armor like paper. Tools that seemed to possess intelligence of their own. The legends describe Mjolnir as being forged by the dwarfs Brokkr and Eitri, master craftsmen who worked with materials not of this world. What if the dwarfs were simply metalworkers who had developed advanced techniques, and the materials not of this world were meteoric iron, rich in rare elements not found in terrestrial ore? Meteorite weapons have been found throughout Scandinavia. Iron from space, harder and more durable than anything early smiths could mine from the earth. But here's where it gets really interesting. Some of these meteorite weapons show traces of artificial enhancement. Deliberate alloying with elements that would improve their electromagnetic properties. As if someone was trying to create a weapon that could actually channel lightning. The worthiness test makes sense too. If Mjolnir was electrically active, it would require specific knowledge to handle safely. Knowledge passed down through generations of chosen warriors. Only the worthy would know the secret. Today, we're developing electromagnetic weapons that sound remarkably similar to Mjolnir's description. Railguns, plasma weapons, directed energy systems, technologies that would seem like pure magic to ancient eyes. What if the Vikings had gotten there first? The real Mjolnir, if it ever existed, has never been found. But every once in a while, metal detector enthusiasts in Scandinavia uncover hammer pendants that exhibit unusual magnetic properties. Echoes of thunder, perhaps, waiting to be awakened. Object number 6. The Sankara stones of India. The temple is silent except for the sound of sandaled feet on ancient stone. Deep in the inner sanctum, 3 monks approach an altar where 3 glowing stones rest in carved niches. The Sankara stones. According to Hindu legend, these sacred gems possess the power to grant wishes, control the elements, and bridge the gap between the mortal world and the divine. But they also carry a terrible curse. In the wrong hands, they can enslave entire populations, corrupt the pure, and unleash destruction beyond imagination. The stone's history spans thousands of years across the Indian subcontinent. Ancient texts describe them as gifts from the gods, delivered to Earth during a cosmic battle between light and darkness. But modern researchers have uncovered something fascinating. The descriptions of the Sankara stones match accounts of rare meteorites that fell across India over millennia. Space rocks with unusual crystalline structures and electromagnetic properties. What if the stones weren't divine gifts, but extraterrestrial visitors? Meteorites can contain elements rarely found on Earth. Rare earth metals with unique properties. Crystalline structures that can store and conduct energy in ways we're only beginning to understand. The British colonial period saw intensive efforts to locate the stones. Military expeditions, archaeological surveys, even attempts at industrial espionage. Why would the British Empire dedicate so many resources to finding what they publicly dismissed as superstition? Because privately, they'd seen demonstrations of the stone's power. Reports from British officers describe stones that could generate light without flame, produce heat without fire, and most disturbing of all, influence human behavior in ways that defied explanation. One documented account describes a rebellion in 1857 where insurgents used a glowing stone to coordinate attacks across hundreds of miles. Instantaneous communication in an age before radio. Impossible, unless the stone was somehow transmitting electromagnetic signals. The stones allegedly chose their own guardians. Only certain individuals could safely handle them without suffering madness, illness, or death. This selective toxicity is actually common with radioactive or electromagnetically active materials. Substances that affect some people differently than others, based on genetic factors or environmental exposure. After Indian independence, the government launched a classified program to locate and secure the stones. Details remain classified, but sources suggest several were recovered and are now housed in a secret facility. The official position is that the stones are culturally significant artifacts with no special properties. The unofficial position is somewhat different. Because every few years, reports emerge of unexplained phenomena in remote Indian villages. Lights in the sky, crops growing impossibly fast, healings that medical science can't explain. Always centered around ancient temple sites. Always accompanied by stories of glowing stones. The Sankara stones remain hidden, protecting their secrets. But their power, according to those who believe, grows stronger with each passing year. Waiting for the moment when humanity will need their gifts most. Object number 7. The scrying mirror of John Dee. The obsidian surface reflects no light. It seems to absorb illumination, creating a pool of absolute darkness in the candlelit chamber. Dr. John Dee, advisor to Queen Elizabeth I, leans forward and whispers an incantation. And then, impossibly, images begin to form in the black glass. Visions of the future, glimpses of distant lands, messages from beings that claim to exist beyond human understanding. This is the most dangerous object on our list. John Dee was no charlatan. He was one of the most brilliant minds of the 16th century. Mathematician, astronomer, navigation expert, and cryptographer. His calculations helped establish England as a naval power. But his obsidian scrying mirror turned him into something else entirely. According to Dee's encrypted journals, the mirror didn't just show visions. It enabled two-way communication with intelligences that provided him with advanced scientific knowledge. Knowledge that shouldn't have existed in Elizabethan England. Dee's notes, decoded in the 1960s, describe atomic theory, the structure of the solar system, and principles of physics that weren't officially discovered until centuries later. Where did this information come from? The mirror itself is genuinely ancient. Archaeological analysis confirms it was created by Aztec craftsmen, probably in the 15th century. Polished obsidian, volcanic glass so smooth it approaches optical perfection. But obsidian mirrors weren't just decorative. They were technological instruments. Recent research reveals that perfectly smooth obsidian surfaces can create unique optical effects. Under certain lighting conditions, they can produce stereoscopic illusions, generate interference patterns, and even create localized electromagnetic fields. To a 16th century mind, these effects would seem supernatural. But Dee's experiences went far beyond optical illusions. His conversations through the mirror provided him with a complete language system. Enochian, he called it. A linguistic structure so sophisticated that modern cryptographers consider it one of the most complex artificial languages ever created. How did a Renaissance scholar invent a language more advanced than anything produced by modern computers? According to Dee, he didn't invent it. He learned it. From beings who claimed to be angels, but whose descriptions sound remarkably like accounts of interdimensional entities or extraterrestrial visitors. The mirror currently resides in the British Museum. Official policy is that visitors can view it but not interact with it. Unofficially, several researchers have attempted to replicate Dee's experiments. Most reported nothing. A few experienced disturbing visions. And one, in 1978, suffered a complete psychological breakdown after claiming to make contact with the same entities Dee described. The experiment was immediately classified. Modern physics tells us that mirrors don't just reflect light. Under certain conditions, they can create quantum entanglement, generate virtual particles, and potentially serve as windows into parallel dimensions. What if Dee's obsidian mirror wasn't showing him the future? What if it was showing him alternate versions of reality? Or worse, letting something from those realities see him? The mirror remains in its display case, dark and silent. But sometimes, visitors report, if you look at just the right angle in just the right light, you can see something looking back. If you enjoyed diving into these ancient mysteries, make sure to subscribe for more explorations into the unexplained. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our latest discoveries.